Hey, welcome to Startalk. I'm Colin, and this is
Marty.
Marty.
I'm Marty. Marty K.
So good to see you. You got that hat on again. It looks great.
Oh, I love that hat. I'm keeping my head warm. The winter is coming. I got to keep warm. An older man.
Older man. So we saw that beautiful song by Roy Orbison on the intro of Pretty Woman. We're waiting for some of the people to join us in the chat. But we're going to continue on. We've been doing kind of a theme for the last couple of weeks on the legends of rock and roll. And we've been dating back. Yeah, last week we had a great show with Marty Edwards.
Absolutely.
And we learned a lot about the life and times of Kenny Rogers. But we
sure.
also learned a lot about Marty himself and
Exactly.
his certain struggles that he had and his overcoming and his transformation. And it was a wonderful show. And I'm really excited about tonight's show and tonight's guest because you and I have both spent a lot of time with our guest.
Many years.
Quite a few years. And did a lot of shows together. So first of all, shout out to those people in the chat. We got Kevmo, Terry, Jason says, yeah, baby, welcome everybody. Will's in the room. Lynn, welcome back.
Thanks, Lynn.
Joshua, William, gents, always a good time. Good evening, Starwire. Yeah, and there's been some action in that as well. There was a really interesting video going around on Twitter where a fella, I believe the company he has is called Strike, and he was showing how they could send micropayments from North America across the sea instantly to El Salvador. And that was pretty cool. And it just it piggybacks on what we've been doing with Starwire. When money moves, you get paid. And it was interesting to see that. And so we're on the right track. This is starting to happen, and it's unfolding right before our eyes. So how are you feeling tonight, Marty? Oh, I like that mood lighting. What's that?
I just got into a mood there.
What kind of mood was that?
That was a blue mood.
Blue mood. I like that.
Yeah. That's when my back screen with all my data for the show goes dark. It times itself out. So every so often I go blue, but I'm really not blue.
It actually looks kind of cool.
Well,
I've got my blue light and
mood light behind me. Light.
Elvis is in the building.
Blue Moon of Kentucky. Blue turns.
Yeah, we should do a show of blue songs.
There's blue.
And Tim's in the room. Welcome.
Yeah.
Danny Zuko. Ray, nice to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Kareem, Agnes.
Wow, a lot of new names. I haven't heard those names before. Welcome, everybody.
Excellent. So we're going to probably jump right in with our guest because
I think we should. These two, we got to get him in.
Why don't you tell us a little story about where you first met?
Well, where I first met was Les Vogt, who's a promoter and who you've worked for as a musical director with Legends of Rock and Roll for over 20 years, alongside myself. I've known Les a little longer, maybe another 10. And he was the manager of Roy Orbison.
Right,
We were doing tours across Canada with Roy. And it just so happened that this next gentleman that we're going to bring in was in an audience one night with his gal. And we didn't have any idea that years later we'd be hooking up, but he'll bring us up to speed. Anyways, the long and the short of it was, I was at the side of the stage looking down into the audience, and you always look out when you're playing keys, or you look to the side for a guest, for the star when you bring the artist on and that. Well, I happened to be looking into the audience, and I spotted none other than our next guest, and he was sitting about 5 rows in, and he was mouthing every single song word for word. I said, this is unbelievable. Then I told Les about it, and obsessed fan kind of thing. Years later, probably 2-3 years later, after the tour was over and we weren't working with Roy, the real Roy, Larry Branson makes his way into Vancouver, comes into Les's office, and that's where it all began. so I'm not going to spoil anything or rain on Larry's parade. Let's get him in.
Let's bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Startalk, the legendary Larry Branson.
There he is.
Hey guys, wow! I remember you introducing me. I forget now where it was, somewhere in the world, and you went on, and I'm embarrassing myself in the back behind, waiting to.
Well, you're a man of few words, just like Roy was, and you know yourself that once you get on a rant on the stage, much to our dismay, Colin pulling his hair out, myself freaking out behind stage, that you'll forget where you were, what's going on, and it's fun. Oh, yeah. But love to hear all about you now. So tell everybody where you actually got your start. I mean, through Les, obviously, and then what's unfolded since. Just bring us up to the now.
Well, when I got out of school, I wanted to. My dad showed me some guitar chords back in the real late 50s into early 60s, and because I could strum a couple of chords on the guitar, I found that I all of a sudden became quite popular with the girls and that, because I played a guitar, and Elvis was so big at that time as well. So they all figured I could do Elvis or something. But to skip forward from that, my dad taught me a few other chords and a few other songs. And one of them was Marty Robbins. And so he was my favorite at the time. But I was also listening in behind the scenes, and I heard Roy doing a lot of songs. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be nice to be able to sing like him? And so I started focusing on what he was doing. But back then, my voice was changing a lot. I was still in my late mid-teens anyway, I guess. And but again, long story short, my first show I ever did, it wasn't really a show. I worked. A fellow hired me. I got paid $5 to sing a Marty Robbins song, and he accompanied me on an accordion.
Wow.
So anyway, so I went from there to working in an electrical company, Canadian Westinghouse, I believe it was at the time, and
just like Elvis.
Did he do well? Similar, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was strumming my guitar, just practicing up on some of Roy's stuff and just anybody's music at that stage of my career.
Right.
And then he come over to me on during my lunch break, and he said, my brother has a band, and they're looking for a singer. Do you want to come down and audition for them? And they were just all like I was the oldest, of course, but they were all kids around 16, 17 at that time. And so I went down there, and they were doing an instrumental of Pretty Woman, of all things. Yeah. I mean, how can you? But they were doing it, and so I started singing with one of the microphones that was just hanging around there, and they really liked that. They said, "Holy, did you want to join our group?" And I said,
"Yeah." Now you also put out a solo album with a guitar on the cover with yourself, and one of the featured songs on there was "Pretty Woman."
I think so. Yeah.
That was one of the earliest recollections I have of hearing you, and I said, "Wow!" I said to Les, "This guy is amazing." So bring us up to speed. You met Les, you signed up, and then you were off to the races. So obviously, there's a poster there. You and I and Colin were talking pre-show, as we always do with our guests, regarding the London Palladium. So tell the people, or maybe show the people, that poster, if you could, please. We'll give you a chance to bring it into focus. Go ahead. And Garney's got you in big screen. Yeah, there you go. So so this, bring it a little closer to your face, Larry, this way, the other way, into the frame. Yeah, there it is. Okay, there it is. London Palladium 2001. You can drop her down. Now, if you take a look there, it was 17 and a half pound, which was almost $40 in those days. So you got to visualize Larry, as well as John Mueller, going over there with a Legends production, with an English band, our drummer, RBG vocalist, myself as the tour manager, Larry as the headliner, and Buddy Holly opening, and Colin selling out the London Palladium in those days for that money with a tribute act.
Yeah. Well, for those people in the chat, you probably guessed by now that Larry is probably one of the world's foremost experts on Roy Orbison, and played Roy Orbison in the Roy Orbison story at the London Palladium. Plus, he's done many, many shows as Roy over the years. And I'll have to just put in a plug for Larry myself, having played keyboards with him many, many times, that if you close your eyes, you believe you're on stage with Roy Orbison. It's absolutely a thrill. And so we'll probably show a little clip of that a little bit later. But like Marty said, Larry, bring us on stage with you into the London Palladium. What was that like? You take the stage, the spotlight comes on, and the first song, Only the Lonely, probably.
Yeah.
What a song to open with, and
for sure.
When you're nervous,
that's
you know, I had just been, before the doors opened, and that, of course, I was walking around looking at all the big celebrities that had performed at the London Palladium, and it just humbled me something crazy. I thought, wait a minute, Roy actually played here. And I was talking to some of the people that were there and that had worked with Roy when he was playing there, and so they were so good to me. I thought, well, they'll be looking down on me or whatever. But they said how when they seen the show and they seen me doing the rehearsals, the staff that worked there, a lot of them had been working there a long time, and they had been there when Roy himself played there, and it was just a really nice compliment, for me anyway. And
what a thrill! How many nights did you do there?
Well, we did 2 shows the first time around. The first time we did 2 shows, and then we came back and we did a second. I don't know if it was a few months later or weeks.
Yeah, a few months later. Yeah, we did Italy. We did England and Italy, all the theaters, and sold out wherever we went. And also, Larry will recall this. Mark Howe, the promoter, his father had originally brought Roy to England, like Larry said. He had played there before. And none other than the Beatles opened for Roy.
Yeah.
And we saw the posters in Mark Howe's dad's office. And Larry and I said, wouldn't it be wonderful to get those as backdrops on either side of the stage? So they took those posters that were in Mark Howe's dad's office, photocopied them to PDFs and took them down to a fabric place and transferred them. And we'd hang them in the theaters where Larry would play. And our near and dear friend Colin, yours, mine, and Larry's, Red Robinson, was kind enough prior to us leaving Canada and going to England to put together a slideshow of all Roy's greatest hits, which Larry performed in the show and got an applause like crazy after every one of them. So every time a slide came up of an era, Larry would do that song. And that was pretty amazing too, for Larry to coordinate, like he says, in a building like that where Roy had actually played, to pull it off. But stellar, 5-star performances every night, never failed to entertain everybody to the fullest.
So one of the questions that a lot of people have, Larry, and I'll ask this question because people ask, was Roy Orbison blind? And why did he wear dark glasses? And I know that's a question that you've got all through your career. Maybe you could tell the folks out there the story behind that.
Yeah, apparently from listening to a lot of the interviews that Roy made himself, and people could find that probably on YouTube as well, that he explains it back in the days when Elvis was doing it like he was and making it so big. Roy admitted himself that he wasn't the best looking guy in the world, but he thought At that time, he had like it wasn't black hair; it was just like a mousy sort of brown sort of a thing. And so he thought, if Elvis can dye his hair, I can dye my hair too. So he dyed his hair, and got the black look. And of course, as we know from some of the older pictures, his hair wasn't pulled down, kind of similar to what I'm doing right now. But
right.
But he, it was a, what would they call that? Not a pompadour or whatever they call that. It was. I tried to get my hair to do that, and it just wouldn't go. It didn't like that. So I stayed with, the later Roy anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Colin, doesn't he look a lot like Roy? Probably because of the glasses, don't you think?
Well, now there's a story behind the glasses too. Wasn't it Roy that left his prescription glasses behind and all he had was his prescription sunglasses? Is that how that started?
Yeah, he was heading out on a tour of to go to England, but he had a show to do. I think it was New York. I think they were heading for, or one of those states anyway. And he got there, and when he got off the plane, during the flight, I should say, his he had a window seat, and the sun was coming through the windows like it would do.
Yeah.
And it was pretty blinding, Roy said. So he put his sun shades, as Roy
Sure.
called them. He put them on, and put his clear glasses on the seat beside him. But when the plane landed, he got off the plane and couldn't find his real glasses. So the only ones he had were prescription sunglasses, which was lucky for him, I guess.
Right.
And they never did find the other ones. Probably somebody just took them home and
as a souvenir in those days.
Yeah, one of the people that worked there, I guess. But so then Roy, it was too soon to get another pair of prescription glasses. So he the next day they had to go to. That's when they were heading to London for the very first time. And so when he got off the plane there, he had his sunglasses on. And all the photographers were taking their pictures of Roy and whatnot. Right. So all over the UK, Roy was there with these dark glasses on. And he was really nervous about it. He didn't like it. He said he didn't apologize, apparently, but he was feeling very insecure about it. And he said in another interview, he said, I felt... he said he was just very, very nervous about it. He thought, that's what it was too. He thought that the people would think he was trying to be cool. Because back in '64 and that, everybody wore dark shades or something.
Sure.
And, yeah.
Sure.
He wasn't trying to be cool. It's just that he had very poor eyesight. And so to answer the other question Colin brought up is that he wasn't blind, but he just had very poor eyesight. Right. He wasn't albino, and he colored his hair black because of Elvis.
Right. There you go. Now you
tell us the stories about the glasses you're actually wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell the people what that's all about.
Yeah, that was given to me when I was in Toronto. I think I don't know if it was at the. Do you remember? I can't remember now what the name of the theater was, but it was a theater in the round anyway, and it was a big.
It was Ontario Place.
Ontario Place, yeah.
Ontario Place, okay. Yeah, because that particular stage revolves.
That's right.
And I was terribly sick on that one. But anyway, I won't get off the track of what you asked me. Yeah. After the show was over, Les was there as well. And Sam Orbison, Roy's brother, was touring with us at the time.
That's right.
And him and the people who made Roy's glasses, whenever he did lose another pair or get them, he got all his glasses from Toronto, from a Toronto optometrist. Yeah, and I just can't recall the name of the optometrist, right. But they're not working anymore because Roy's not with us. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, they came down and presented this to me right after the show, and I was just beside myself. But they gave me Roy's glasses with the original lenses in them, the original glass. And what a crazy guy I am. I looked at them, and of course it was like Coke bottles, you know. And so I put them on and almost fell over. And so I asked them, is there any way you could remove the lenses and put like clear, not clear ones, but you know,
Tinted,
yeah,
non-prescription ones.
Yeah, that's right, and then get the tint as close as they could. So they said that they would do that, but I should have asked for the lenses to
as a keepsake. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. So I've got Roy's original glasses, but like he said, he had Sam said Roy had several different pairs, but he kept losing them here, there, and wherever.
Yeah.
And these are just a pair of Roy's glasses that he didn't lose. I have them now. Yeah. After almost 30 years, I've had these.
That's right. That's right. You've had those. Yeah.
I have a picture. One of my avatars online is a picture with me wearing those very glasses that you let me wear once, and that was a thrill. Oh, there we go.
There's a shot. If we can get that shot, there you are wearing those glasses, Larry, on stage.
Boy,
That's you with those glasses many, many years ago in concert, as well as when we did a U.S. Stint with another Kenny Rogers other than Marty Edwards, Colin. There was Larry and myself in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we did a bunch of U.S. dates with this other Kenny Rogers.
What was that? What was that car that you commandeered for us to?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. Larry and I get booked into the States there to do a bunch of state fairs and everything. So we arrive at the airport, and the promoter, it turns out, he owns a small theater, and we were doing the state fair as well as his theater shows afterwards. We do an afternoon at the state fair in the midday, and then we go to his theater at night, and he was famous for these hot dogs, and he'd feed us and everything. Needless to say, we needed a vehicle. So I said to him, can you get us a vehicle? He said, I got a friend that's got a dealership. So Larry and I say, this is going to be great. We're going to get a car for ourselves and that. He takes us to the dealership and says, take whatever you want. Well, it turns out it's an old used car lot. So Larry and I choose a 56 Pontiac four-door with a 389 V8 in it. And we load up our suitcases and Larry's guitar and clothing bag. And we head off to the motel, driving a 56 Pontiac four-door sedan in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and throughout the area, 200-mile radius where we were playing for about a week. It was unbelievable. It was a tremendous car.
And just a quick ending to that story. I remember so well what a good thing it was that you were with me, because we were in the car and we were trying to get to the theater where I was going to play.
That's right.
Such a massive bunch of traffic in that, and I don't know how you did it, but you wiggled around through that traffic and leaned out the window telling people to get out of the way. and I thought, this is Marty.
Not me. It wouldn't have been me, would it?
Oh yeah, it was you, and you were telling, not telling people, but hollering it out to anyway.
Get the heck out of the way. We got to go. We're late. We're performing at the theater. Move on. Yeah, honking, yelling. Oh, it was tremendous. We had a tremendous time.
It was a great time. Yeah.
Well, it's always a pleasure to share the stage with you, Larry. And let's transition a little bit and talk a little bit about the music. And I know there's a few of your favorite songs, but tell us, you've recorded a lot of songs over the years. Tell us some of the music that's important to you and some of the music that you've discovered was important to Roy, some stories behind the songs. Let's hear a little bit of the backstories of some of these wonderful big songs of our generations.
Well, I got I had several albums of Roy's doing covers, of different artists, and that, one being Hank Williams, of course, and he did Don Gibson, and I loved all of those guys. I used to sing a lot of their music in my one-man show that I used to do way before Roy. But Marty Robbins, I guess, was probably right under with Roy, and he had such a feeling of when he did his songs, and I just really enjoyed listening to Marty Robbins. So when I was in Nashville there one time, I recorded a bunch of a friend of mine that was in the band actually at Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where I was.
That's right.
Yeah, and he had a studio at his home. And so he said, why don't you come over and we'll record some Marty Robbins stuff for you? And he had these incredible backing tracks that were just like Marty himself, his band would have been. And there they are. That's nice.
Yeah, there's Marty. El Paso, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a 10-song tribute thing to Marty Robbins as well. And that was a lot of fun to do that. It was just really a fun time, and I got the only pictures I ever got were with the Jordanaires. They came in and did the backup harmonies on my Christmas album.
Wow! Well, you sang "Pretty Paper." You did.
Now the Jordanaires were Elvis's backup singers.
That's right, they were. Yeah, and they can't. I met them all. Several of them aren't with us any longer, but they were just such nice guys. And actually, after they heard it, they came out and they shook my hand and said, Roy would have been real proud of this, because he didn't do a Christmas album, and I did. And but I did as a tribute to Roy. Of course, I didn't do it for any other reason. And it caught on, and that was recorded, I think, in 1995, I think.
Yeah, that's
one of my favorite songs to play with you was always "Pretty Paper." We used to do that every Christmas. We used to do a Legends of Rock and Roll Christmas show.
Yeah, and Larry was on. Yeah.
And "Pretty Paper" was always the one song that you always wanted to make sure was in that set, and loved playing that with you. You sang it just so beautifully.
Yeah, it was excellent. You did a great job.
Oh yeah, Colin always did a great job for us. He was tremendous as a musical director and keyboard player and vocalist.
I worked with a lot of musicians over the years. Of course, after Legends didn't really pack it in. It's just that I was going so far, it wasn't possible to bring the whole band and everybody with me. I wish I was that, but Colin is the one who actually nailed, all of the songs that we did of Roy's. Like there were several little parts of Only the Lonely, for instance, that had all, real neat little things on there, like that portrayed strings and that. And he always hit that right on the money. And that just helped me something really helped me anyway. And it was it just, when you get the music sounding really good, and then myself performing the song, it just became magic, as they call it, and
exactly.
I feel inspired.
Tell us a little bit about the theater days where you ended up in England and Australia for lengthy stays. Give us a little insight to that, if you could, please.
Yeah, the England thing, of course, I toured for almost 2 years with Only the Lonely, the one from London, and went all over the UK with that.
That's right.
Made some great friends and met a lot of people. Most of the interviews that I did, radio interviews or the interviews on television and that, were done by people who had interviewed Roy himself. And
phenomenal.
It really made me feel funny because, and I said that to them. I said, this is really an interesting thing here. I'm staying in the same hotel that Roy stayed in. I'm being interviewed by the same guy who interviewed Roy, and I got Sam Orbison because Sam was with me on a lot of those as well. And so, how would that make me feel? I couldn't grasp.
Do you remember the time, Larry? Do you remember the time when we played the Commodore? And Margaret Trudeau was there, and Red was there, and Sam came in for the very first time. Les brought him in to see you because he had heard all about you, and he wanted to do that tour that you're talking about with us. and he wanted to be Sam Orbison Presents, the Roy Orbison story. And after the show, Les came to me and he said, "Oh, you got to get Sam back to meet Larry." And then you were drying off in the backstage area in your dressing room and that. And I came and got you, and I said, "Larry, Roy's brother Sam is here." Now, I can't remember the exact year, Larry, but I think it was maybe, you might have the better recall, it might have been a year or two after Roy passed. Does that sound right?
That's about right, yeah, because Les was putting the show together in 1990.
Yeah, and Roy passed in what, 87, didn't he?
88, yeah.
88. Okay, so turn back the hands of time backstage. You may recall this. First of all, Sam was in the front. They had the tables running lengthwise, Colin, from the stage outwards to the dance floor. Instead of widthwise, they were lengthwise, so they could put more people, Alan Thicke, Margaret Trudeau, as I mentioned. Anyways, I looked down while Larry was performing from the monitor mix, and there were tears running down Sam's cheeks while Larry was performing. He was watching Larry perform. Tears were running down his cheeks. So at the end of the night, when Les asked me to bring him in to meet Larry, I went and got Larry, brought Larry out. And Larry, I don't know if you recall this, but it definitely stuck out in my mind for forever. The very first time Sam saw you and laid eyes on you, because you had never had a conversation with him or were aware of who he was, correct?
That's right.
At that time. You didn't know who he was. You knew about him through Les, but you hadn't met him.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So, anyways,
he didn't be there.
No, you didn't know he was going to be there. Complete surprise, Colin. Now, the words that came out of Sam's mouth were more or less this: "Hey, Larry, my name's Sam Orbison, and if I didn't know that I buried my brother, you are my brother." And that's how he introduced himself to Larry, that he had buried his brother, that Larry was his brother. And then he said, "You don't got to worry about nothing. You're going to come with me and we're going to do our thing." And then we embarked on that tour and we went everywhere, and Sam and Larry would sit in the van. Les would drive, I would co-pilot, or vice versa, like you and I would do on tours. And Larry and Sam would sit side by side, and then Sam would look out and he'd say, "Larry, you want any fried chicken? Hey, boys, pull over and get some fried chicken." And then we'd get some fried chicken, and then he'd say, "Listen, I got to run in that convenience store and get myself some beef jerky. Larry, you want anything?" And he was always, "Larry, Larry." He had this weird voice, but he loved Larry. So we put them in these captain seats behind in the van, which Les had a custom van. And I can remember going by Larry's hometown, Bruderheim. And as we were driving by Bruderheim, I said to Larry, there's Bruderheim. And Les and I broke out into a verse of "Can't Go Back to Bruderheim." We just belted it out, and Larry was looking out the window. By that time, we had blown past the sign. But those were the days where the promoter, the artist, the band, everybody traveled together, as you well know, Colin. And you can't replace that. The bonding and what went down in the course of a day to get to a show was unbelievable. And this man, beside us there, Colin, Larry, was just a pleasure to work with, to be with, to put on and off stage. He just captivated that audience from the minute he went out till the minute it was over. All eyes were on him. I mean, you had that band tweaked as the musical director. I had him on and off stage, but he had everybody captivated.
Yeah, Larry was often my coffee buddy in the morning.
That's true.
That's right. We sit there and have coffee in the morning at some of these hotels. But let's get back to the music. There's some people in the chat. There's some people who've just joined us. Christopher said this is a real treat. Welcome. Keyword management, late to the party, but great to have you here. People are saying great stories. Let's hear a little bit more about the music. Do you have a favorite Roy song, or is there favorite Roy song, or a story behind one of Roy's songs that some of the people might not know?
I had a one that I've never actually performed, and but I used to sing it to myself, little bits and pieces of a song that Roy did called "Mama," and it was about a guy going off to war and that, and but anybody who knows Roy Orbison would have heard that song. But that's one of them. Blue Angel was another one of my real all-time favorites that I enjoyed singing. But the Mama was when I heard him do it in German. He sang it, did a recording in German as well, and it's just as emotional to listen to as it was
in English.
In English, yeah. And I get he recorded it because it was a request of Barbara, because she was German, his wife, and so I guess that's the reason he recorded that song. But he did a great job.
Now on this one, Larry, there's a story behind this that you told me on Mystery Girl, that Sam came to you once and you were talking about these recordings, and you covered a lot of them in your show of late. What was the favorite song off of there that Sam told you was Roy's?
Oh, I believe that was California Blue.
That's right, my friend, California Blue. Yeah. That's one of them on there, and that was, and you did such a great job of that.
Oh, that was that was definitely another one of my favorites. How many favorites can you have? But
you can have them all.
But Roy, after recording the album, walked out of the studio, and Sam was there at the time, and Roy said, Sam, he says, one of my favorite song on the album was California Blue.
So Larry, tell us a few of your travels. Like, we know that you've been to England and as Marty was saying, some other places in Europe. Tell us a little bit about your travels and where some of your favorite places that you got to go, some of the biggest or favorite shows that you did.
Well, one of the biggest, of course, was England when I first, because it wasn't just the UK. I got to, there's a big story behind that. I won't get into it, but because I wasn't briefed about the proper names for a lot of places, to me, everything was England. But when I went to Ireland, we went and did a 1-week show in Ireland.
Yeah,
Northern Ireland, up in Glasgow, I guess it is. Yeah,
it was yeah.
And my opening thing was how nice it was to be here in England.
Yeah, that went over really big.
I think I heard
Scotland. I don't know.
I think, and they started shooting bows and arrows at me.
Yeah, shooting arrows at them. Yeah,
but they straightened me out the first night about that. All I heard was a few moans and groans from the audience, and then
Italy was good.
Yeah, and then somebody, helped me straighten me out, I should say, with that. But then one of my other favorites was Germany and Malta. I did a show in Malta for a week.
Malta, wow.
It was 1 week, and yet they brought a band in, and they brought a band in from England anyway, and that knew Roy's stuff real well. There was 16 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah, they had 2 drummers, and they had about 3 guitar players, and a sax player, a trumpet player, but they did have a string, no real strings. They had the keyboards that did
no strings attached.
Yeah. But anyway, that was all recorded and done real well. And somewhere out there is a fantastic video of the whole show, which the promoter who brought me over there was able to pay me and the band, for everything we did, but they didn't have enough money at the end of the day to pay for the all the video. It was a television station that came down and did it, so it was done on really nice equipment. And there was 3 of them, and I can remember standing in different positions, and you'd get a guy almost laying on the floor, looking up at me, and I'm looking down at him and trying to smile. Roy might have smiled, and I'm thinking, boy, this is going to be a really good film to have. And
I can see it in Marty's eyes right now. He's going, where can I find that?
Well, we'll find it. I'm on that, Larry. We'll be looking for that starting tomorrow.
I can't even remember the name of the station, and
we'll figure it out.
From Malta, he'll find it.
We'll find it. Somebody's got it.
Somebody in the chat says, who has two drummers? And it's interesting. Elvis used to use two drummers.
Right.
And the Doobie Brothers used two drummers. And
Ringo Starr had three drummers, Jim Keltner, Lee Von Hellman himself, most of the time, too, with himself and Zach.
Wow.
So we've had some cool two drummer bands in Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis.
Yeah. But let's open it up to the chat. Is there anybody there that has any questions for Larry? Because we're continuing on our kind of Legends of Rock and Roll theme as we go, and it's so fascinating to hear some of these stories. Especially from somebody who's so close to Roy Orbison's family and part of that whole culture. Allman Brothers also had two drummers.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tim.
That's right. Thanks, Tim.
Is there anything about Roy and his family that sticks in your mind, Larry? That
just the fact that they were close and good friends with Johnny Cash, who just lived up the road from him in Hendersonville, and I sat for several hours with Les Vogt when we were down doing the Christmas album. I sat in Wesley's house with Sam and Wesley and myself and that, and it was a memorable time just sitting in his house. One observation I made while I was in his house in Wesley's place was there was one picture. I'd used the washroom, and so I had to walk down the hallway. There was nothing on the wall anywhere, nothing. And there was one picture at the front door when you first walk into his door, not into the door, but into the I walked into the wall, the house, and it was right up on the wall there, and it was a picture of a young girl. I can't remember how old she was, but she was just young, very young. And I asked, as I was leaving, I asked him who that was, and he says that was my mom.
Wow,
Claudette.
Wow. Yeah. And he's got a song called Claudette.
Yes, Roy wrote a song for Claudette, and I just gave me shivers. I mean, out of all the wall space that he had this picture of his mom, Wesley's mom, and that was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's an interesting story about Claudette too, that he wrote that for her, and then of course. He recorded it, but then he gave it over to the Everly Brothers, and they made it a monster hit.
Yeah, that helped him buy his very first house.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that was pretty good. He was pretty proud of that. But the Everlys did much better with it than he did. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Somebody in the chat mentioned the Traveling Wilburys.
Yeah.
I'd almost forgotten that Roy was part of that.
Yeah, that was quite an accomplishment, and that was put together. I think Les had something to do with that. Les Vogt had something to do with putting them together in California.
That's right.
Roy had told Les that he didn't want to go to California. He didn't like that. He didn't want to move from Nashville, to California, because he thought the people were too sticky and too whatever. Yeah. But it turned out much different, and Roy got very comfortable. And Barbara put a lot of things together and brought all those performers, which is history now, of course. But wow,
look how many of them have preceded.
Yeah.
Betty's gone, Harrison's gone, Roy's gone.
Yeah, it's amazing. So,
but the music lives on, and
we
have people like Larry still with us that can bring back those memories. And I know that it's such a joy talking to some of the fans. When we do a Legends of Rock and Roll show, we always have a merch table at the back where CDs or T-shirts or books are sold, and the people just come and they relive their youth and their childhood. And I know, Larry, you bring back so many fond memories for people, and it's just a thrill when you stand up on stage and start your beautiful voice singing like Roy, and I can see, the people in the audience, and like Marty said, even Sam with tears coming down his cheek. I see ladies and guys out there that feel that emotion, because Roy had that emotional voice.
True.
And that's something that you're blessed with. You have that gift of bringing that same sensation to people, and it's just you've really blessed so many people over your career. So thank you, Larry Branson.
Yeah. Larry Branson, the best.
Thank you guys for all the years that we were together in that, and it's not over.
Lots of years.
The chubby lady hasn't sang yet.
He's next.
The music lives on. Kareem says, thank you, Larry. Any unique fan interaction memories? That somebody's asking in the chat, Larry. Any fans stories that somebody you interacted with?
Oh my goodness, quite a few.
You had a lot of.
One of my biggest fans that is with me right now, sitting beside me here from England. She wrote me a letter, and I got it backstage from the, they got it in the mail, and in the letter she had said how bad she felt that she couldn't get to see the show that I was doing. She had already seen one show I did, but she wanted to come to. I can't remember where this.
Halifax.
It was in Halifax, England. Not.
Bring her in, Larry. Bring her in. Bring your lady in. Bring her into the screen.
Yeah.
Judith, come on in. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Come on in.
Come on in. Come on down.
William says, thank you, Larry, for keeping the memories alive of one of my favorite musicians of all time.
Judith, come on in here. Get in here.
Thanks,
Show
William, for that.
Show us your lovely person. Move over a little, Larry, so Judith can come in. There you go. Judith, stick your head in for a minute. That's great. A little above Larry's name. Beautiful. Lovely lady. Lovely.
Can you stand?
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
we've been together now. 10 years? Almost 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Now show everybody what you got in your hand. Not Judith's hand, but show us that guitar. Even if you have to hold it up. Now, Colin, you've seen that many times. Turn it sideways, Larry, just sort of on your chest. Put it on your chest.
For those that can't read it, it says the Roy Orbison story on it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that just so happens.
When I did the show in London, they wouldn't let me put that on there. They gave me a new pick guard, which I have in the case, but they didn't want it to say the Roy Orbison story on it. So I put this back on after I finished with the show.
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
was that the same kind of guitar that Roy played?
Pretty much. It's a Gibson 335.
335.
The one that he used had the F holes. You know how they.
Right.
Yeah. Where am I here? Yeah, you know where they
are.
You're
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and this particular one, the only story behind it is that I ordered it from, can we say Long and McQuaid? Is that okay?
Sure, Absolutely. They're one of our sponsors next week.
One of our sponsors anyway.
In 1989, I ordered it, but I ordered the one with the, the semi-acoustic with the F holes in it. And the only one they could get at the time that was black and that was this one.
Uh-huh.
And we were getting ready to do the tour.
That's right.
And, yeah. So anyway, that
beautiful guitar.
I had to be, so now I got it. My son Kevin, he says when I go, he doesn't play the guitar, but he wants to have it as like an ornament,
keepsake, a remembrance of his dad.
Yeah,
something to hang on the wall.
I had a few dollars offered to me for it.
I would imagine.
Somebody in the chat room is saying, "Is that the giveaway, the guitar?"
Yeah, for sure. No, we're giving Roy's glasses away.
Oh, yeah, right. I wouldn't want to part with them either. I don't know why they're going to go.
Sure not.
Well, before you tell what we're giving away tonight, Marty, we better bring Garnet on. We're already 10 minutes to the hour, and
that's fine.
And so let's bring Garnet from Starwire. Oh, there he
Yes.
is.
Hey guys.
Looking
Hey,
sharp
how are you,
tonight,
Tom?
by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Larry, it has been awesome just listening to everything you've been sharing, and a couple sort of items stick out to me just as you were sharing. One was, obviously your gift brought you into the presence of people, the Orbison family and other people around the world. Your gift, took you to the far corners of the world. What you talked about, some of your most memorable moments, were those conversations that you had. And you think some of the greatest treasures are just sometimes the smallest moment, key conversation. When I think of music fans around the world, obviously the music is moving them. It's also connecting them to the many conversations they have. Colin was coming from a music background, and I was coming from a filmmaking background. And the one thing we knew was we wanted to create an experience that was better for the musicians, for filmmakers, for actors, but also for the fans, using this technology of digital currency that has emerged, in the last few years. This idea of fractional ownership of movies and music, we knew that this could be something that would change the way people publish music, but the way people engaged with music. We see lately that this technology of NFTs have been exploding. Well, we see in the first half of 2021, we see $2.5 billion in sales. And we can see that this technology is a powerful way to sell music, but it's not just that. These NFTs also represent access. We're going to have a meeting, a quick meet and greet after this stream is done. Right now, everyone is welcome. In the future, we know that we want to give access. It'll be an NFT that is what gives access to that meet and greet. And coming back to those conversations, what is the value of a conversation? We enjoy the music, we go to concerts, but what is the value of being able to go backstage and say hi to the artist you love and adore? Marty, of course, you're famous for your backstage passes, right? What is the value of a backstage pass, and what would people do to,
they kill for it because it's one of a kind. You can't get it.
It's about a collectible. It's about access to the music, access to these behind the scenes stories. In the next coming weeks, for all of you people out there, I know there has been some comments.
We need a drum roll.
Garnet came on and he talked about NFTs, and we still want to know more. We need to learn more. And exactly, we don't have enough time on a show to take you exactly through the experience that we want to give you guys, not the people watching the show tonight, hundreds of others around the planet. We're going to create an experience. It's going to be amazing. NFTs, the technology, what we're connecting to is moments like this, great music, the legends who created the music, the stories behind it. We're excited to be releasing something in the next 3 weeks. I would say keep watching our social media. We have a meet and greet right after here. But before we do that, I think we're going to give away, what do we have, Marty?
Yeah, Larry has consented to give away a personalized photo, which he will sign to the winner. Larry, can you hold that up, please?
Yeah.
Right up. Very rare, out of circulation for many, many years. The glasses, of course, a tribute to Roy Orbison. Great photo, great artist, and whoever wins it will get that signed and autographed personally to them by none other than Larry Branson.
Wow. How do I get in the draw?
That's right.
Yes. How do we
got to have a hashtag, don't you?
What is the key word?
Let's make the hashtag. What do you say, Larry?
Okay. Do you want me to say the...
Absolutely. Say the hashtag that you want the people to have.
Okay, pretty woman.
Pretty
There
woman.
you go. So some lucky winner will win this beautiful autographed picture of Larry. And
here it is. You got 5 seconds to
Here
get
we
those
go.
last.
And you can use it as your avatar. So
That's
if some
right.
guys use lions, you'll be able to use Larry. How about that?
that's right.
Okay, here we go.
Here we
Who's
go.
going to do the countdown? And the drum roll. We need drums. Here it is.
Wheel
This is so
Oh,
fun. I love this.
fortune. Wheel of fortune.
Remember we played that, Marty?
Awesome.
I won.
Kevmo.
Kevmo.
Kevmo, you got that.
Awesome.
All right, you have to make sure we get your contact information, Kevmo, and I think
We'll
that's
pass that on
fantastic.
to
Thank you for being here, Larry.
Yes.
And do you have anything else to wrap up with, Garnet? It's
I got-
1 minute to the hour, so we want
It's
to be
been
respectful.
awesome. Once again,
Has been awesome.
boys,
Always.
awesome show.
Thank you. Thank you for all your great work that you do prior to the show. Colin, you, Larry, for coming on.
Did we have a little clip we were going to show, Garnet? What was
Oh.
that?
And
Yeah,
stay in the room, Larry, because we're going to transcend into stay